Can somebody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Cool. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I think I had the wrong year here. Last year's on here. It says 2023 now. Okay. Awesome. If you ask questions to the chat, I'll monitor the chat, but at various times. So if you have questions as we're going through this, I'll pause a couple times to take questions, but also feel free to put them in the chat or come off mute, ask them. As necessary. So at this time, if you're not me, go ahead and go on mute unless you have any questions before we get started, just to make sure you're in the right place. This is for families of GRCDC fifth graders who are planning to go to sixth grade, possibly at a GRPS school for sixth grade. So I will not be covering information regarding other districts or schools of choice or things like that, which are all viable options. I will just be covering tonight information about planning for the GRPS sixth grade entrance process. All right, so hopefully. Right, here's our agenda. So I'll introduce some basic information. We'll talk about the school options and what the requirements are for being accepted into each school. We'll talk specifically about the application process, and then we will have time for questions and answers. So first and foremost is deciding which schools or school you think that your child may want to attend for sixth grade. So some of you already have children who have gone through this process. Some of you, this will be your first child going into sixth grade. Anyway about it, there are a few things to consider. One thing you want to consider is your child's interest in your learning and their learning style, the fit of the school to your child. So you all ended up at GRCDC in some way, and usually people end up at GRCDC because there's something that you're looking for specifically either around our curricular approach, our philosophy, a relational approach that really works for your family. And so you're going to be thinking about that, how that is going to be the same or different when you're looking at your child's middle school experience. The second thing you're going to consider is your child and your family's lifestyle outside of school. So the different schools, depending on what you choose, can impact your entire family in different ways. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then you'll want to think a little bit, not too much, don't get too worried about this, but you may want to consider your child's eventual trajectory towards high school, where they hope to go for high school, where you hope they might go for high school. I would say for sixth grade, that's probably, that this is like listed in order of priority, because the cool thing is, whatever choice that you make, if it doesn't end up being right for your child and it doesn't work, you can always make a different decision. And so this can feel really big. And it is really big. It doesn't only feel really big, it is really big. Many of us haven't applied to a school since you applied for your child to go to GRCDC, whether that be in kindergarten, first grade, or more recently. The thing to remember is if you realize that the school is not a fit for your child, you'll be able to make some different choices. And I just want to say that because because the pressure, we don't want the pressure to be so great on your child for a choice of sixth grade, like this is going to determine the rest of their life. It's not. It's going to determine their sixth grade year and maybe only part of their sixth grade year, depending on how it goes. And so I just want to keep that in perspective. The other thing I want to make sure that when you're talking to your child about this is that you help your child see all the choices as good choices. It's really not healthy for a child from fifth grade going into sixth grade to have a ton of anxiety about if they get this choice or that choice. And it's a little bit of I consider it an inequity and a barrier in the way that our district is set up, that so much is placed on this process, because I think it can give a false sense of both like finding the perfect school, but also a false sense of like the gravity of this to children who are very, very young. So we want to make sure that they know, like, they could go to a couple different schools for sixth grade and probably have a pretty great experience. And that's kind of the way we all want to approach this with the children, because I've seen throughout the years, and even in my own children. So I have a child in 10th grade right now. I have a child in sixth grade right now. I have another child who's applying for sixth grade for next year. So is in fifth grade right now. I've seen this play out in my own family. So I want to make sure that we keep a balanced view as we go through this process with our children. So now we're going to talk about the Grand Rapids Public Schools options for GRCDC students. So there are many theme school options. So we're only going to talk about theme schools tonight. If you want your child to go to the sixth grade that is your neighborhood school, awesome. Like, all you have to do is enroll them. There is no application process. You don't have to do anything special. They are entitled to attend your neighborhood school. If you want them to attend a theme school, these are the choices that most of the GRCDC fifth graders attend. So many of our students may attend CA Frost, where they can go from 6th through 12th grade if you wish, so they can graduate right from there. Same thing with Museum School, 6th through 12th grade. UPrep, which is right across the street down a little bit from us, University Prep, 6th through 12th grade, GR Montessori, 6th through 12th grade, and then Zoo, Blandford, or Center for Economic Ecology are all only sixth grade schools. So you may say, I don't see City on this list. That is because City Middle High School does not start until 7th grade. So children go somewhere else for sixth grade, usually Zoo, Blandford, or Center for Economic Ecology, and then they go and apply to City for 7th grade. So these are the sixth grade choices for theme schools for GRPS students. I'm going to pause right there just to see if there are any questions about that list of choices. Not about how to get into them. I'm going to explain all that in a minute, but just about these choices. Cool. Miranda, are there any questions in the chat? Awesome. Thanks, buddy. All right. So the next thing that I would recommend to you is that GRPS typically has an expo around this time in October or November, where you can go and you can go to visit the different tables with the schools, and you can talk to the principal, and you can get some, like, I don't know, some handouts and some swag and things like that. But because GRPS is in a transitional phase right now with their communications department, they are not having an expo before winter break, and I don't know if they're having an expo at all. So my recommendation to you is to call the schools that your children are interested in and ask for a tour. We give tours all the time at GRCDC. This is very normal to ask for tours for these schools. So that is going to be your best bet as far as being able to talk to anybody over there or see the school itself. So you call the school office directly and ask to set up a tour. Okay, so all of the schools that are on this list, so Frost Museum, UPrep, Montessori, Zoo, Blandford, and Center for Economic Ecology, require a theme school application. So you must apply to each of those schools. You will apply to 3 schools. You must apply to 3, and you'll prioritize them in the order that your child's interested in them. And so the first school, second school, third school. You cannot just say, my child only wants to go to Zoo, we're only applying to Zoo. You have to apply to 3. The application is not open yet. It will open in January, but I'm going to show you some stuff about the application so you're prepared when the time comes, because it will be here before you know it once we get through the holidays. So you will navigate onto the GRPS website. You will click in the upper right-hand corner where it says enrollment. Once you get there, you'll click on theme school application to the left. This is all assuming that this does not change in January when they launch it. And if it does, we'll figure out the new flow then, and we'll deal with that then. Once you click on theme school application, you'll choose the theme school you want. You'll fill out your application. One thing to note, your child does not have a GRPS student number. You cannot click GRPS student. You You're just going to click non-GRPS public school, and then we give GRPS a list of our fifth graders. All of our fifth graders, for purposes of the lottery, are considered GRPS school children. You're just not going to see our school on the drop-down menu, and that's because of us being an independent charter school. So just know that. And when you get to that point and you forget, you can call Jesse in the office or you can email me, and we will help you remember how to do that. All right, so from the GRPS contact that we have on October 12th, she shared that there's nothing firm on the expo, but they're tentatively planning one for January 7th. We're going to hope that they have that. If they have an expo, I cannot emphasize strongly enough how important it is to go to the expo, because your child may become interested in a school that you've never considered or they've never considered. That happened certainly for at least one of my children. So you want to get a chance to explore as many options as possible, not take anything off the table if you don't need to. So if there is an expo in February, we'll let you know. And I really, really, really highly suggest that you go. Second thing, they have released the dates for the application. The first round of applications is going to be January 8th through February 9th. Everybody from GRCDC apply in that round. Do not wait until the second round. Do not wait until the third round, because they fill as they go. Okay, so your chances of being put on a wait list for your first choice are much higher in round 2 and round 3 than in round 1. Now, within round 1, it doesn't matter when you apply within that round. So you can fill out your application and submit it on January 8th. You can fill out your application and submit it on February 8th. You're still in that round 1 window, and you'll be in the round 1 lottery. So in your mind, you want to say in your mind, the deadline is February 9th. Don't even pretend like there's not even 2 more rounds. Just do the first round. That is like the best advice that I can give you for everything that I've seen of which students get into their preferred choices each year. Hold on, I got a question in the chat. Let me see. Yes. So do that within round 1. I'm going to talk a little bit now about the test in schools. So if your child is interested in zoo and Blandford or Center for Economic Ecology, these schools have a test in requirement. Your child must receive a certain score on the standardized test that we give at GRCDC in order to be considered for these schools. So you have Zoo School, which is at the zoo and has a focus on animal care and science, and 60 students per year. At Blandford Nature Center, focus on outdoor learning and science, also 60 students per year. And then Center for Economic Ecology, that's on City Middle High's campus, focus on science and sustainability, also 60 students per year. Many of our GRCDC students go to these 3 schools. For some of our students, this is a great fit and an awesome experience. For some of our students, they are not great fits and they have not had awesome experiences. And so if your child is considering one of these schools, the first thing to consider is the level of homework that your child is willing, I would say willing to do. I mean, because if they're willing, then they will be able. Because each of these 3 schools have a lot of homework. A lot of their time during the day is spent doing project work, spent outdoors, spent on other things. And so a lot of the work that they need to do is done at home. And it can be a really big change from an experience at GRCDC. So be aware of that. And I will say I had my 10th grader went to zoo, my 6th graders at zoo right now. So, and they've had very different experiences. They're very different students. But have that conversation about lifestyle outside of school, sports, other activities, things like that before you commit to one of these schools. So to go to one of those 3 schools, students must score at the 50th percentile or over. This says in reading and math. That's not right. It's in reading or math. They have to score in the 50th percentile or over in reading or math. GRCDC students will submit their iReady scores, so they do not need to take the NWEA. The iReady is approved by the state, and GRPS accepts the iReady. I'm sorry, I have a dog wrestling match going on behind me. When your children may use their winter scores, the test that they take in December, or their fall scores, if for some reason they're sick and they don't get to finish by the time you need to submit your scores or whatever it is, they could use their fall scores. So we can also look at which ones are better, honestly. When it's time to submit your application, you'll email me. I'll send you a PDF copy of their iReady scores, and you'll send them to the enrollment office. It's pretty streamlined, honestly. So when your children are going to take their tests in December, we definitely want them to do their best. We want them to be well rested. We want them to try their hardest. We do not want them to have anxiety. It is questionable in my mind, and of course this won't be surprising for you being that I'm the school leader of GRCDC, the practice of using scores for admission to a 6th grade, the stress that that puts on 10 and 11-year-old minds and bodies. It is the district's requirement and we will follow it, but it is really not healthy for our kids to carry that anxiety and that stress. So you just want to encourage them. You do not want to say to your children, well, these are the scores. This is what's going to, determine whether you get in this school or not, or what. You don't even really want this to be in their brain. There is nothing positive. It's like, do your best, work your hardest. We work really hard to make awesome testing conditions for all of our kids in terms of who needs small groupings and who needs one-on-one testing and all of that. Let Miss Carly and Miss Trout worry about that. Do not put any needless pressure on the children, especially this group of 5th graders. They tend to be a little anxious, and they tend to be really slow test takers as is. So I don't want to put any extra pressure on them for these tests. Hold on, I'm going to just check this chat really quick. Yep. So that's all accurate. So if children go, wherever children go for 6th grade, if they want to go to City, they have to reapply to City. Typically, if you go to CFE and Zoo, Blandford, and you've been successful, you'll be able to get into City, but you could be waitlisted depending on the numbers. So if they go to one of those 6th grade only schools, you will be going through another process of school admission for 7th grade, which is can be its own unique challenge. I'm sorry, I don't know what I just did with my slides here. Give me a second. Okay, so I'm going to just pause that right there. That's for the test in school. So just to review, all of the schools need an application. Only Zoo, Blandford, and CFE need test scores. You do not need test scores for museum. You do not need test scores for Frost or for Montessori or for UPrep. You just need the application for those schools. We have families that have gone to all of these schools. So if you are interested in hey, I'd love to connect with an alum family who has navigated the school, about what their experience has been, I can connect you with families at any of the schools that you might be interested in. So feel free to email me and I can hook you up with an ambassador that would be happy to talk to you about their experience at the schools. You don't need that. All right. So these are your next 3 steps. So right now, call schools and arrange to tour is what I would do. Talk to your network, to people who have sent their children to any of these schools, and attend the expo. I would say also really take into account your child. You are the expert on your child. You know what they like and what they don't like. You know what they need and what they don't need. So somebody else's experience, while helpful, could be really different than your child's experience. So really kind of get attuned with your child in that way. Oh, I said that in part B. Talk to your child, let them guide the process based on what they know about themselves, and then determine 3 schools to apply to and help them order them in order of application of what you're going to apply to. Our historic experience has been, if people apply in round 1, almost everybody has gotten their first choice. That has been our historic experience since, I'd say, the year before COVID to last year. I know that the district is going through some restructuring. I know they're going through some changes and things like that. I cannot guarantee that it will be the same this year. What I can say is applying in round one is really, really important. So then when it's time to apply, we'll send a reminder out. Miss Carly, Miss Trout will put something in their newsletters, and you will get the application in before February 9th or by February 9th. If there's going to be an expo, wait to send in your application until after you go to the expo. Because remember, it doesn't matter if you submit it January 8th or February 8th, it's all in round one, and they're all going to be considered within that pool. Let me look at the chat and then I'll take any verbal questions and answers. Yes, so we do have a parent, Emily, who is also a teacher at Museum. So she said that she would be happy to talk to anyone who has questions about the museum school. So if you would like to talk to Emily, just let me know and she'd be happy to connect with you. What else did I want to tell you? April, I don't know if we'll know for sure. So that email answer that I just received, or that I was referring to about February 7th, was, I want to say, from the third week in October. So I'll reach out to them again in like right before winter break and see what they know and what they're planning on doing. Our application is open right now. Typically their applications are open right now. Obviously they're on a different timeline right now. So I will try to get a firmer answer before we go out for winter break, so you can think about making tour plans and things like that. Are there any other questions you can put in the chat, or just go ahead and come off mute and ask me whatever questions you have?
Hi, Lisa. This is Abby.
Hi, Abby.
Hi. I know that a couple of visiting sixth graders and older have come into some of the classes to talk to them about their experiences. Have we thought about maybe doing like an info night and inviting some of those past students to talk to kids and parents? Because I know parents might have some questions too.
That's a great question, Abby. I think if we find out that they're not doing an expo, I think that would be a great idea. So can you put that in mine and yours, Lisa and Abby, connect about doing a parent night? And we could why don't we do this? Why don't we say, like, if they don't know by winter break, then we can start moving ahead and planning that. I know that we have tons of families and students that would come back and talk to our kiddos.
Awesome. I know that it would really be helpful for Maggie, and I know my daughter Zoe, who's a sixth grader, would love to come and talk about her experiences at museum. So awesome. Okay, thank you.
Yes. That sounds like a great idea. And maybe we should do it either way anyways. So let's talk.
Okay.
I have a Zoe right now, and then my son is at City, and I think, like, it's worth, my son has really struggled. He struggled at Zoo, he struggles dramatically at City. I think it's important to know about those experiences as well when making decisions. Any other questions?
Hey, Lisa, it's Becca.
Hey, Becca.
This is actually just another comment. I don't know. I've got an ADHD kid, so I've got a neurodiverse kid in my household who went through CFE and now is over at City. So I just wanted to say, if there's anyone else who wants to chat sort of these schools and neurodiversity, I'm here. You can throw anyone over the fence at me, because we've had both great things and sort of frustrating things. And a bunch of the kids sort of in Kingsley's class also were neurodiverse and went off to all these schools.
Yes.
And had sort of like a mixed bag on how they were able to do various schools, because everyone assumes CFE has lots of homework. That is not the case. It's actually Blandford. So there's, like, especially with neurodiversity, there might be some weirdness that might actually reorganize if they don't have the expo, especially.
Awesome. Thank you, Becca. And it has been my experience talking to parents that CFE is different than Zoo and Blandford. Zoo has a ton of homework, just a ton of homework. I cannot emphasize how much there is. So that's great to know. And so, and I know CFE has been different, and it seems like some of our different in some ways, and it seems like some of our students have been more successful there. And my daughter is loving Zoo, just to be clear. But it is a lot of homework. Other questions or comments? So I will send neurodiverse CFE people to Becca if you have any questions and want to talk that through. Abby and I will get together about having a family night with some alums and some parents that can share their experiences. And I think we could organize that even by school, because I'm thinking of some people I know that are at UPrep and are at Frost. That would be really helpful too, to consider some of the other schools that our families have had some great experiences at as well. Other questions? The applications involve any open? No, it's just filling in basic info. It's just really just filled out by the parent and then the test scores.
I just wanted to say that Blandford also has tons of school projects. It sounds very similar to Zoo based on what I've spoken with other parents, but my oldest Jaden also went through Blandford, and Blandford is like all three. My understanding is they're very small communities, so very insular. Just something to keep in.
For sure. Thanks, Miranda. And then, no, I'm not gonna say that. Any other questions? Like I said, we joked that I was officially a project manager for King's 6th grade. I feel like that is, yes, that is where I'm at. I'm feeling that right now. And there's some, you know, there's some shifts that we've made in GRCDC in terms of our, especially our reading and math curriculum, that I think is really setting up our kids well right now currently to navigate some of the stuff. It's just the homework piece. We just we are not aligned in homework philosophy, but between GRCDC and the 6th grades, and what they get to do because of the homework can be really fun. So random, but matters. None of the schools have uniforms. GRPS has let go of uniforms finally. So Liv can feel free to express her beautiful self in her beautiful ways without worrying about that. So if you think of any questions, or you're talking this over with a friend, they ask this or that, like, oh shoot, why didn't I ask this? Just send me an email. I will hook you up with the right person to answer your question if it's not me, and talking through things. Then Becca just added CFE was amazing. So like a mixed bag in a lot of ways. Kings did great with homework in 6th, but 7th at City has been pretty intense. And I would say that high school at City is a whole nother level of intensity. So we don't need to talk about that right yet as 5th grade parents. We're going to focus on 6th grade, and we're going to know that the world is so different when a lot of us went to school. Like usually, you know, when I went to school, and I'm aging myself, it was just whatever your school was that your bus went to for middle school, and then you went to your high school, and there was no choice. And so, you know, we're reevaluating our choice for my son right now, who's in 10th grade, and looking at a lot of different options, like just keeping open that, you know, you're going to pick the next right best step for your kid for 6th grade. And then you're going to continue doing that just as you have all along their educational career. And that you can always come back to GRCDC and ask questions. We have enough alums and parents that work at the school that we can probably cover most of the schools, and a lot of the non-GRPS schools and school districts as well. All right, if there are no further questions, then we'll close out for the night. Email me or give me a call if anything comes up on your children. Can feel free to ask questions, and feel free to ask Ms. Trout and ask Ms. Carly. A lot of them stop by my office and ask various questions, which I love. So just encourage them to be part of the process and to help guide you in the next steps. Have a great night. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.